Hey there, brilliant people. So today I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question, which is, how deep is your relationship? Now, of course, there's different ways of looking at it, but so obviously today I want to talk about it from the point of view of how we look at these kind of things in fractology, which is from a place of trust, because for a lot of us, we think there's actually really only one kind of trust, but actually there's three. So I'm going to go through these and we're going to look at the different kinds of trust and what that means for your relationship, whether or not you have that trust in your relationship. Okay, so the first level of trust. So the first level of trust is actually faith. So there is a difference between faith and trust, although we often have to start in faith in order to get to trust. Because faith it's like hope. It's an expectation of the positive, but without any experience of the positive. Whereas trust is obviously an expectation of the positive with prior experience. Like there's a pattern there that we can see, well, yeah, that's been happening. I can trust that. So a lot of us, though, confuse faith and trust. We confuse hoping for good things with knowing that those good things are going to be there. So if all that you have in your relationship is faith, well, then you've got the hope of a relationship. You don't really have a relationship, or at least not yet. So that's the first level. But then the second level of depth in your relationship is the first level of trust, which we call operational trust. So what is operational trust? Operational trust is you simply do what you say you're going to do. You know, you say you're going to pick up the milk on the way home, you do. You say you're going to call that colleague at a particular time, you call them at that time. You know, whatever it is that you say you're going to do, you do it. Now, I mean, of course, you know, life is what it is, and sometimes stuff happens. But when it does happen, you don't just let it go. You've got this agreement with somebody, so you let them know that there's stuff has happened. But it isn't just, okay, well then I can let it go. It's like, well, I'm not going to be able to make that agreement. What can I do what can I do instead? What can I do to make this okay, kind of thing? Because that's really important, because without operational trust, your relationship's not even functional. And I know that, you know, a lot of people in their relationships go, oh, well, you're just, I don't know, treading on my freedom or something. But that was the person who made the agreement in the first place. Like if they don't take what they say seriously, why should we? But also, I mean, sure, they don't have to do what they say they're going to do. But if they don't do what they say they're going to do, then the relationship isn't functional, because there's nothing in that relationship then that you can rely on and build on. So yeah, hopefully your relationships are at the very least functional. I mean, we need to have them in our work, because otherwise, yeah, well, we're not going to get very far with our work. But we need them in our own personal lives as well, because, well, how can you build a life with someone if it's not functional? Okay. So that's the second level. Then the third level of depth in your relationship comes with shadow trust. Now, what do we mean by shadow trust? Well, yeah, I mean, we all have our stuff, our problems, our incompletions, and who we really are. So the colloquial way I kind of explain that is, I say it's either our shit or our shiny. In other words, we have our stuff, or we have who we really are, which is brilliant. So the thing is, shadow trust is based on our ability to discern the difference between our stuff and who we really are. So our incompletions or issues and who we really are. Now we need to do this for ourselves, because, well, without that, how are we going to become more of who we really are? You know, and if we can do that for other people as well, it means that then you can have a relationship that's got true intimacy. It means two things. If you can trust the people in that relationship, if they have shadow trust in play, it means two things. It means that, when I'm in my stuff, I'm not going to project it onto you because I know it's just my stuff. I know that's got nothing to do with you. It's got to do with my past and whatever stuff I haven't worked through as yet. So that's my deal. I need to work through it. Doesn't mean I can't talk to you about it, and it doesn't mean that occasionally I'm, not going to make mistakes, but I'm going to do my absolute best to not let my stuff make my choices. And this is why shadow trust usually comes after operational trust, because when we get better at keeping our agreements, of course, we want to make sure that the agreements that we're making actually are going to work for us, that they're coming from who we really are. So that's the first thing, is that we're not going to put our stuff, our incompletions onto somebody else. But the other thing is that when someone is doing that, when somebody has got the capacity to not, try and project their stuff at you, well, then you want to be able to actually understand, well, that was their stuff, that's not them, and they're doing their best to be more of who they really are. So I'm not going to judge them on their stuff, because we've all got stuff. So let's just, appreciate the fact that they're doing their best to be more and more of who they really are. And who they really are is the person that I want to have a relationship with anyway. So that's who I'm going to connect with. I'm going to connect with who they really are. And I'm going to hold space for whenever their stuff comes in, and knowing the fact that I can trust them to deal with it. And that is what enables true intimacy in your relationships. And it also enables you to get to the next level, which is based, on the third trust, which is brilliant trust. So brilliant trust is pretty much what it sounds like. It's when you're living from who you really are. Now, when you're living from who you really are, and other people are living from who they really are, it means that you have the capacity for this mutual expansion, mutual inspiration, because their brilliance inspires you to be more brilliant, and you being more brilliant inspires them to be more brilliant, and you start to get a lot of synergies and synchronicities, and it's really fun. And of course, that means though that you need to have that capacity for inspiration to allow that mutual expansion to occur. And when you do have that kind of brilliant trust, it means that both of you are growing in the relationship. So that's a relationship that can, last a lifetime and beyond, because that's a relationship in which you're not just compatible now, but you've got some kind of compatible growth going on as well, which is just brilliant. So there you are. That's the 3 kinds of trusts plus faith, so 4. And how that connects to the depth of your relationship. So I hope you are having brilliant relationships, and until next time, remember that you are brilliant.